Has got very big rams. I hope you don't get it from where I'm suspecting.
Do you think you're the only one who knows where all the good news come from? My son bought me this ram all the way from abroad with baluwo.
Oh yes, this must be baluwo. Me too, my daughter just bought one for me. True baluwo. With baluwo, everything is possible.
This Tabaski, you can buy ram for your family using the trusted Baluwo. Just log on to the www.baluwo.com website or download the app. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Look guys, you guys got very big rams. I hope you don't get it from where I'm suspecting.
Do you think you're the only one who knows where?
Before the break, you are telling us about the first time you were tortured at the NIA. On this particular occasion, was it just you who was tortured or you were tortured with somebody else?
I was tortured with Musa Sedikan.
Were you tortured during the same session or one after another?
Same session and together, by the same group.
By the same group.
On two occasions. Yeah.
Two occasions. We are now focused mainly on the first instance. Can you tell us exactly what was done to you?
Like I said, when they called us that early morning of the day, as we were going out, they started kicking us and slapping us. And once we got to the ground, I wasn't stripped. None of us were stripped. But the clothes I was putting on were not heavy enough. Perhaps that's why I think they didn't. So it was a light cloth. And like I said, they used cables, they used belts, they used sticks to beat. And they just beat anyhow they want to beat. So it's not like you take a position, but they just keep beating and kicking until Musa would ask them to stop. And when they were asked to stop, then Musa will come in and ask questions. Questions like, who do you work for? Because I believe they have this notion that all medias are Western agents. But I tell them, I work for independent newspaper. Kill me or leave me, but that's I work for independent newspaper. I don't work for any other agency. But they would not seem to be satisfied with that, and then Musa will order the beating again, and they will start beating and beating and beating and beating, and will stop. I think that takes, during the first session, it's about 2, 3, or 4 times intervals. And
intervals of how many minutes?
I think it could be between 10, 15. At the state, I would not have, but I think it cannot be more than 15 minutes.
And this happened 4 times?
4 times.
Within one session?
Yes, within one session.
So cumulatively, there would have been a beating of about an hour?
An hour, yes. Because when we are taken out 3 a.m., by 4:30 we are back to the reception. So basically it's about that, about 1 hour of beating. And at any interval, like I said, they would want us to tell them who we work for. And actually, to be honest with anybody, we don't work for anybody. Our employer was independent newspaper, that's all. But I want to believe they have more to the Sambaba story, because Independent at the time was a very critical newspaper, very fairly written and balanced and very objective. And as a result, I think they just want to settle scores just on the basis of the Sambaba story.
Did you sustain any injuries at all as a result of that torture?
Oh yes, I did. If I should undress now, certainly you will see some marks on my back. I was very careful when the beatings were taking place. I had always covered my head with my hands so that my head is protected and nothing happens to my eye. And actually, the only part of my body that is exposed to the humiliations and the tortures was my back. So certainly, at the time, I had very terrible scars on my back. But then, up till now, they are visible. Because sometimes when I undress, my children, the younger ones, will ask me, what is on your back? I cannot see my back as it is, but then there are scars, marks on my back.
We would ask you to send us a photograph of your back so that whatever marks there are would be visible in the photograph, and we can use that as add that into the record.
Okay, I will do that.
And after the first session, did you need any medical attention?
I needed medical attention, but I wouldn't be given because I was still under their custody, and they wouldn't give anything. There are the security guards at the reception, very, very, very sympathetic with our situation, and after such beatings, they will help us use some other creams to rub on our bodies. But that is just on a humanitarian basis. That was not official treatment. And they were no way doctors or nurses. They just sympathized our situations and then would help after the beatings.
Did you ask for medical assistance, or you thought it was futile?
I thought it was futile. I don't have to ask, so just bear with that. And during the intervals at this time, we were allowed visitors. So my wife and children would visit me, and I would try as much as I can to hide the pains from the family at the time, because I really don't want them to be more traumatized. But on one of the occasions, one of my wife, who is present here, he told me that the way he observed me praying was not normal, and I keep saying, no, nothing is wrong with me. So, as my children, Nanding, is Fatumata, is now in Italy, played a very key role and ran from one place to the other, had also observed that. And I remember one of the visits of one of my daughter, Ceesay, also the foresight went into tears because of my appearance, and this is after the first beating.
How long did it take between the first and the second beating?
It should be not more than 4 days. As Jame will promise us, that is Musa Jame, that you stupid journalists, we will teach you a lesson. So after a few days, they came back again. But even before the tortures, we also were invited for interrogation by Captain Sen, who works at the NIA.
And what was that interrogation about?
Well, like the police officer, he also asked why we were there, and we said, we don't know. You should know it because we are under your captivity. And he said, well, you are here because you wrote an article about Samba. I said, yes, but we've taken care of that. And moreover, Samba is not a government official. I cannot see the relationship between Samba and government's intervention. Lamin's position is, yes, government has a seer because in your article you said he was arrested. So, and it must have been arrested by government, so that is government seer in it. That is why we are interested in it. So,
beyond that, did he say or do anything else?
He did not do anything else, and then he just asked his men to take us back to the cell. Then we had not gone under the light detention. So we went back to the cells, and then until the tortures also started.
Between the first and the second torture, you said it took about 4 days.
Yes.
And that would have taken us to about almost 2.5 weeks into your detention, correct?
Yes.
So what happened?
Because my total detention is, our total detention is 3 weeks,
That's
21 to 22 days.
That's right. So what happened on this second occasion? Tell us the details.
The second occasion also, as usual, they came, still led by Musa Jame and Tumbul Tamba, both of who work for the Gambia National Army, and with people dressed in uniforms, that is National Army uniform. I guess they are soldiers. But later I was made to understand that these soldiers are based at the State House. They are the State Guard soldiers. So the second
otherwise known as
junglers. And when the second time also, when we were called out, we were 100% prepared for another beating. So it wasn't as the first one, because we already had an experience of very bad treatment in the hands of the soldiers. So again, we were taken away, kicked, slapped until we reached to the same place where they do their torturing, and they start the same process again. And again, Jame will stop, Musa Jame would stop the soldiers and then ask us the same questions: who do we work for? And who do we think we are? And he will keep insulting and humiliating us, our profession. Not personally, but you stupid journalists, who do you think you are? Who are you working for? You must tell us. And the beatings will continue.
Did he say anything regarding your relationship with the owners of the Observer, of the Independent who were abroad?
Yes, at one point he told us, yes, you are here suffering, and the owners of the papers are in US. They are enjoying their coffees, but you are here, suffering. I said, well, I'm a journalist and I work for the Independent, so I work for my survival. So I'm not per se working for the owners, but I work, at the end of the day, I have something to take care of my family. So it doesn't matter whether the owner is in the country or outside the country. What matters is at the end of the day, at the end of the month, I have my pay and then take care of my family.
On that particular occasion, for how long were you beaten?
It must be the same range, 10, 15 minutes, and the round is almost like 4 times or so. And
so again, on this occasion, you were beating for a cumulative period of about 1 hour.
1 hour, yes. Yes. And because we have had the first beatings, these second beatings have even put us into more bad status. You can remember, between 4 days, you have scars all over your body, and again, you are beaten again on the same spot. So it means that the wound gets deeper and the pain gets more serious, and it even gets more serious overnight when you are back in your cell and then you don't have medical attention. The pain is just too much. But luckily, we survived the pain. We are alive.
Apart from Musa Jame and Tumbul, do you recall any name amongst the torturers?
No. I know there are up to 8 of them, and I know they are soldiers because they have uniforms. And it's in the early hours of the morning. It's not quite bright. Can make their faces. And I don't hear them calling one another. They only keep calling Musa and Tumbul. So, but then I think their identities, even though Musa and Tumbul are late, but we are under the custody. We are at the custody under an administration, that is the NIA. The then director of NIA was Hari Sambu, and the one Mr. Hydra was the assistant. So, and I'm pretty convinced that they know that these people come to their station and torture people. Because they will always tell you that, no, we didn't bring you here, so we cannot release you. So, meaning that they are keepers. You must know, they must know who are they keeping us for. If you are a keeper, you must know whose property you are keeping there.
Do you know whether the NIA deliberately supported or assisted the junglers to torture you, the detainees?
I think they really supported them. The fact that we are in their custody And I can remember one day, even before we were taken for light detention, Hari Sambu was passing our cell to one Samba Jallo, who is an NI officer, whose office is not far from the cells. And I heard him saying, is Mady and Musa still here? So meaning that they know we are there, and they know this will come to torture us. So I would say they subscribe to our tortures. Secondly, anytime, the second time that the Musa and his team came, the securities at the reception insisted that they must call their hierarchy to let them know that these soldiers are here to torture Mady and Musa. And they did that. And that didn't stop
How
the
do
torture.
you know they did that?
We were present.
When they called?
When they called.
Who did they call?
They called the director.
Which director?
Hari Sambu, the director of NIA, and they also spoke to, according to them, they spoke to Haidara. I don't know if Haidara's first name, but he's also a senior person at the NIA then. And
as far as you know, did Mr. Sambu or Mr. Haidara object to you being tortured at that time?
No, I don't know. But the fact that the second beating continued and it wasn't stopped, I want to believe that they must have subscribed to it.
On this particular occasion, you suggested that your injuries worsened. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And you were returned to the reception after about 1 hour.
Yes, correct.
And what happened after that?
At the reception, at that point, Musa was really very scared and very afraid. And Tumbulu Tamba and Musa Jame and his team were there. My colleague Musa Sedikan said to me, we have to run away, otherwise we will be killed here. Hey, for me, well, running away, yes. But then I looked around and I said, but Musa, how can you escape here? Look at where you are. But even before I conclude, Musa had already smashed the window, attempting to run away. But these are bulletproof windows, so you can't. So the glasses broke and then they rushed in again and grabbed him.
Who rushed in again?
Musa Jame and Tumultamba rushed in, they grabbed him and they took him away. This time alone, I wasn't there.
Did you see him again?
I saw him again.
And in which condition?
He was serious. He was in a very serious condition. I think he broke his hands 2 times. I can fully remember.
Did he break his arm?
They broke. When I say he broke his hand, I mean they broke. Let me put it this way: they broke his hand more than 2 times, because of the beatings. I don't know how they were beating him, but when he came back, he was in a very bad status, and I can see his hand was broken. And he didn't have any medical attention at that time, so he has to spend the night with that very serious pain the following day. And that went on, I think, for 2-3 days. And then one day he was taken away in the afternoon, and then he came back. When he came back, he told me that they took him to the military medic or whatever, something like that.
Could you say that again? They took him where?
They took him to a military hospital or a military doctor, something like that. He had some treatment, but from the military. But that was, like I said, 2 or 3 days after his hand was broken.
How about you? Did you also need medical attention?
At the time, yes, because I had wounds all over my body, my back.
Were you given any medical attention?
No, I wasn't. But I think because Musa was in a very more serious situation than me, because we all may have sustained injuries on our backs, and additionally, he had a 3rd beating, which I didn't witness. But when he came back, I can see the results. So I think that must be the reason, and that's it.
For how long did you remain in detention after the 2nd beating?
I don't think we stayed much longer, but then they must have also allowed natural healing to take place before we were exposed to a panel. So I don't really know, but I know we were released, our total detention was 21, 22 days. Probably we were released a week later or so.
Can you tell us how your release occurred?
One morning we were called to their conference hall. Again, if you get into the NIA, there's a story building, and up there was a big conference hall. And when we went, we were seated somewhere, and then the table was full with different uniformed personnel from the army, from the police, from the NIAs, lots of them. And then the Inspector General of Police was there. I think then CDS, Lantamon Tamba also was there. And they started talking to us.
It's important we know who was there. You mentioned...
the Usman Sonko, at the time was Inspector General, but later became Minister of Interior. And Lantamon Tamba was there.
Was there a representative of the NIA?
Yes, because Harisambu was there, Hydra was there, and others. And also, Captain Sen was there. Sen. And then there was this former police officer, police IG, who used to live in Bakau. Anyway, maybe I will remember the name. He was there.
Is it by the name Jame?
Jame, at the time I think he was an advisor, police advisor, but he was one time Inspector General of Police.
FRI Jame?
FRI Jame was there. So the room was full packed, but these names I can remember very well. And they start taking turn, addressing us. We were not given any opportunity to say anything. We were there only to consume. And all what they have been saying is that we must see ourselves as partners to the government, and we must not be tarnishing the image of the government by our writings, and that what happened to us should stay there. We must not talk about it after our release.
What were they referring to?
The tortures, actually, because the only thing that happens to us there that one man would not like to be revealed is the tortures. Because mere detaining us is normal, but it is abnormal to subject people to inhuman treatments like beating them and causing a lot of injury to them. I guess that's what they're referring to.
So you were being cautioned not to discuss your torture outside after you were released?
Yes.
Who said that? Do you recall?
I think it must be the Inspector General of Police. Former Inspector General of Police, Usman Sonko.
Did any of the other members of the panel react to that?
Yes, I think speaker upon speaker will say that we must see the government as partners. But this particular caution to say we must not talk about what happened to us there come from the former Inspector General of Police, Usman Sonko.
But did the other security chiefs react to that statement, that you should not talk about what happened to you at the NIA?
All of them said it.
All of them repeated the same caution?
Yeah, all of them said it. In fact, for Harisambu, blamed the media for losing his job. He said it was because of your bad reports that I was sacked. I think he was one time director and sacked and then brought back. So he also blamed the media for that, or blame us for that, because at that point we are the two who are representing the media. So meaning that they're saying that our reports are not favorable to government, and we are tarnishing the image of the government.
Did he say anything about your tortures at the NIA?
No. None of them mentioned the tortures, even though they know we were tortured. Nobody mentioned it.
But did he say anything about you disclosing what happened to you at the NIA? Yeah,
they always said we must not talk about what happened to us, but what particularly, what they really particularly mean, they didn't say that. They didn't say exactly that you must not talk about these tortures. They always say you must not talk about what happened to you here. But we understood that
What I
torture.
am trying to drive at is who actually told you that you mentioned the IGP,
Yes.
the former IGP.
Yes.
Did any other member of the security chief also utter those words to you?
The former CDS, Lanta Montamba.
And who else?
I think I can remember these two, but like I said, speakers upon speakers really said similar things. But these two really said it.
So that was intended to cover up what happened to you at the NIA, so that it would not be known to the public.
Yes.
And what happened after that?
What happened after that, when we were released, a few days later, a week or so later, because I am in constant contact with Musa, and he told me that, well, Madi, I think we should leave this country. It's still not safe for us. Like he told me at the NIA that we have to run away, otherwise we'll be killed. And my take on it at that time is, well, I will consider it, but I'm not ready for leaving the country. That later I found out that he left for Senegal, and then later moved to the USA.
And what did you do?
I continued working in the Gambia. I continued as a journalist. If this media is shut down, I cannot have access to independent, and there's nothing I can do. So what I did was found the media agenda and continued my work. And as a result of staying in the country and doing the same media work, I think the CPJ, Committee to Protect Journalists, nominated me for an International Press Freedom Award, which award later I won, and then went to US to receive that award in 2007.
7 or 17?
2007.
2007. That was a year later, pretty much.
It was November 2007, yes.
That's right. But were you given a reason as to why the Independent was closed?
No reason was given, but I believe the reasons are the regime is out to muzzle the press. They're out to silence us by all means. So this time around, we just sealed the premises. We cannot have access to it. We cannot talk to anybody about it. And we remain in that situation. And it has sent a lot of us of our jobs, including myself as the general manager, editors, reporters, printers, messengers. A whole lot of staff are sent off. Later on, the staff has to scatter and then pick jobs here and there with other media houses.
So are you suggesting, therefore, that the issue of the Sambaba publication was just a pretext?
Very well, yes.
Because that was already sorted out.
That was my position.
So it was a pretext to close down the Independent.
The Independent, because I think they just used that to settle scores with us, because the paper was a very independent and critical newspaper. And
but what is extraordinary is what happened to the actual author of that article.
Well, the actual author, which is Lamin Fati, was also arrested even before we left the NIA. He was also arrested and brought to the NIA.
Do you know whether he was tortured?
He stayed much longer than... I would have no doubt that during his stay he was tortured. I cannot doubt that at all. In fact...
Why don't you doubt that?
In fact, if anybody should get the worst treatment in their hands, would have been Lamin, because they will assume that he is the author. And he also stayed there much longer than us, I think about 3 months. And later he was dragged to court and was fined $50,000. Even that $50,000, then I was the president of the GPU. We were ready to pay, but they just rushed him to the Mile 2 prisons and asked me to go and get the money when I pay, go to the magistrate court with the receipt, and then they will escort me to get him out of prison. And that's what I did exactly with my colleagues.
And after how long were you able to get him finally released?
Oh, that same very day. He didn't spend the night there. I rushed, and before the banks are closed, we got this money out. paid, get a receipt, went to mile 2, and then we get him out of mile 2.
So after that, after this incident with the NIA, what did you do since the Independent was closed down?
Then I started to look for an alternative, and one of the alternatives is I wanted to set up a newspaper immediately, but like I said, my colleague said, no, that's not the right thing to do. And I don't want to break my pen, so I decided to set up a media agenda, which is a media training and research body. So I do have proposals, I write project proposals, get some fundings, and short-time training, train journalists a week, 2 weeks, and so on and so forth. And that's how I was surviving until 3 years later. Then I founded Daily News, and I started operating the newspaper again.
And tell us about the Daily News. For how long did it operate?
It operated for 4 years, 2009 to 2011. It's about 3 years.
And then what happened?
It was shut down by the same government because the Daily News was not different from the Independent. Having worked for the Independent, and some of the staff immediately came over, so the editorial policy was almost not different. So it was a critical newspaper at the time, especially when the prisoners were executed. And we run editorials, we run opinion columns from anybody, those in the country and those outside the country. And then we were closed down in 2011 together with 2 other news media houses, that is Taranga FM and the Standard newspaper.
On this particular occasion, were you arrested?
No, I was not arrested. In fact, when they came to the office, I was at a meeting somewhere at Tango, and Lamin Jai has to call me to say, well, the NIAs are here, and they said we should close down. I said, close down for what? Did they give any reason? He said, no. I said, okay. I suspended the meeting, then they left, had already left. So I joined the staff, and then we meet and discuss around it, and we decided that that particular edition will come out. Whatever may happen, but we'll have to, because we're already working on an edition. So we used that edition to write the story of us being asked to shut down.
But were you served with anything? Were you given any documents to show that there is an order for the Daily News to shut down?
The APIC regime is just like a club. It's not an organized government that can give directives by writing. No, so they operate like a club. No letter was given to us, and we just had message that we should shut down, and that's all. And all the media houses that were shut down without any written letters.
Didn't you see the need to ask for a written order?
Yes.
In fact, a court order for that matter, or an order from the minister, if the minister has that power at all.
Under a normal government, a normal and a serious government, you can do that. But this is under dictatorship. This is under dictatorship. They have no regards of procedures. So we had, after that, because they told us that if we want reasons, we should go to the president's office. And I went to the president's office the next Monday, but I couldn't have access. I was referred to the Secretary General, same thing. Later on, we were asked to write to the Secretary General to say we have come to see. Nothing. Then I told them that, look, these operatives are usually from the NIA, so let's go to the NIS. We went to the NIS, we couldn't see the director. I said, look, let's not bother ourselves. Those of you who can find something to do, go and do it. Because they will frustrate our efforts. I even went to the point of meeting the then Speaker of the National Assembly, Fatma Ceesay, together with Srif Boja. So we've done all these things to find our reasons, but we couldn't.
Did you make efforts to reopen the paper?
a futile effort because you cannot even have access to your materials, and there is no way, because under the circumstances, yes, we could have moved to another premises, but we couldn't use the Independence name.
You mean the Daily News?
Oh, you mean the Daily News?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't. What I did was, because the paper has an online version, I keep publishing the online version, because I have not seen anywhere in the laws of the country that you can register an online. For newspaper, yes, you register it. So I continued with the online version, published my stories on the online versions.
Did anybody say anything to you?
They didn't tell me anything. Perhaps that impact is not that much big, so I think they just, or they're ignorant about it, I don't know. But nobody told me anything about it, and I continued publishing the online until 2017 when we come back to the desk.
But how about the actual paper? You never recommend that paper?
From 2011
Yes.
up to 2017, no. For 5 years, we were out of business. It was after the change of government, then I just start republishing the Daily News.
How about the news outlets which were closed at the same time with the Daily News, Taranga FM and the Standard?
1 year after our closure, 2012, they allowed the Taranga FM to operate, and they also allowed the Standard to operate.
At what stage did you learn about that?
Immediately, was the president who made a New Year message that these two media houses were allowed to reoperate.
So they were being forgiven, as if
yes.
they were being done a favor.
Yes. And I was privileged to a letter sent to the Taranga FM, and one of the conditions is if you are reviewing the local newspapers, you must review the Daily Observer and no other newspaper.
Censorship.
Yeah, that one I have seen that copy.
Muslim.
So I don't know what happened to Standard, but then they were also pardoned. For some reasons known to them, the Daily News is not allowed to see the light.
But how did that impact on you and your family?
Very seriously. It was a serious economic loss. Both papers, like the Independent newspaper was closed for 2 years, and that was a serious economic loss to the paper and the staff. And the closure of Daily News also has serious impact on my life as a family man. I have wives and children who were going to school, so it was a very difficult moment for me. The income was too bad. The income that I get from the online cannot be compared to the hard copies where you can carry advertisements. So it was a serious economic losses to me, and it affects my family a lot.
And during this period, did you have any members of your family or any member of your family who became a journalist?
Yes. Even prior to that, one of my sons, Boubacar, was with me at the News and Report, who later traveled to US. But then at the latter part, my eldest son, Ibrahim Ajanko Ceesay, followed my trade, and I used to send him for coverage for the online paper, and he was doing pretty good for the online newspaper until April 2014, when he was arrested together with Salon Sanden and Co. because he was following them, he was trying to make reports, and he was arrested.
Was it 2015? 2015? Oh, 2016, yes, 2016.
It was 2016?
Yes.
Okay, 2016 April. So he was following them, and he was at Westfield when he was arrested together with Solo and others, and subjected to tortures, very serious tortures. Because I was privileged to visit him at Mile 2, and he told me that see what they have done to me. I said, what? So he opened his mouth, he has a broken teeth, and he took the teeth in the trouser, he pulled it out and showed it to me. I said, okay, keep it there. And he said, I was subjected to serious beating. He said, when they took him to the NIA, they took him to a concrete floor, this table like this, tied his hands at the back, and then were beating him. And they were telling him, well, you're the son of Mady Ceesay. So your father was a bad journalist, and you are also a bad journalist. So he was subjected to serious tortures. And then later he was detained at Mile 2. He was asthmatic. And then later, his conditions aggravated, and he couldn't survive. And he passed off shortly after he was released.
He died?
He died, yes.
What do you think killed him?
I think it's because of the tortures and the cell conditions, because he's an asthmatic patient. And that must have aggravated his asthma, and it got worse and worse, day in, day out, and finally he died.
How did the family feel?
It was a shock to the entire family. His mother is in the hall here. His sisters are here. It was too shocking for us, but we have to face the fact. So we have to face the realities. He died, he died.
Who do you blame for his death?
Pardon?
Who do you blame for his death?
Oh, really? I blame the Jammeh regime for his death. Because if he was not picked up and subjected to those terrible tortures and that worsening prison conditions, he would not have died. So I blame Jammeh and his government for the death of my son.
Mr. Chair, I have no further questions for the witness. I hand him over to the Commission for further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Council, and thank you very much, Mr. Ceesay, for your testimony. Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate. I don't see any hands coming up. I'm terribly sorry that you had to endure so much, just carrying out your profession and things that you thought the country needed them to be made aware of. If you have any closing remarks to make, please make them now.
I would not have much to say, but I would say the media, or the Gambia was a hell for media practitioners during the 22-year regime of President Yahya Jammeh. If any other profession suffered much, I think it's we, the journalists, that suffered a lot, even though the soldiers also have suffered, but it was really a hell for us. We lost our dear ones, we lost our professions, we lost our businesses, we lost our, all our businesses to the dictatorship. And what I would say for now is these are in the past, and we really want to build up another Gambia so that we don't have such a terrible situation. I would urge the current government to look at our media laws. These are still within the books of our country, and if they are not repealed, they can always use them. As at one moment, the Justice Minister was on record to say that these laws are here still. So what that means, I don't know. So I would urge this government, if really we want to open a new page, that the draconian media laws should really be repealed so that we can have a clean page, because you cannot have a good democracy if you don't have a vibrant media. The media at the moment really are breathing some amount of independence and freedom. But really we want these media laws to be plucked out of our books so that we can make the maximum use of our profession. And to my colleagues, that is the journalists, that we must be truthful and factual in our reports. We must not be biased if we want to really go to higher heights. Journalism is not all about destruction. It's not about destruction. Journalism is about construction. So my colleagues, we should always report factually, and chairman and council and lead council and other commissioners, this is what I think I can share with the new dispensation and my colleagues, the media practitioners. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for those very nice, wise advice and the suggestions. Thank you again for coming to testify before the Commission.
Most welcome.
Thank you. We will take a lunch break, slightly longer than we normally do, but we resume our proceedings at 2:30. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5 star jas na la 5 star jas na mooy jas na bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne lañ nii lañ ko buggee nay lañ ko buggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bugga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fëlee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tobaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw skincare plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la skincare fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways cuubantu wuñ de dañ cuub bam saf-saf
Sama